Well, hey, everybody. Thank you and welcome. It's Tony Robbins.
I'm Dean Graziosi. What's up?
Listen, we have 500,000 people from over 100 countries that are joining us right now. At least have registered. We'll see how many of you show up. But those that are watching right now, welcome. We're very excited and quite privileged, honestly, to be able to share with you this workshop today because we both have a privilege. And the privilege is we figured out, or I don't know if we can take credit for it, we stumbled across an industry that has allowed us to live our lives in a way that was incredibly fulfilling and continues to be. Last year I started by asking people a question. I'd like to ask you the same question. If you had to choose between a life where you made lots of money or you had a huge impact on people in this world, where you really impacted the quality of their life, which would you pick? My answer is, why not both? You know, most people pick a job and they find themselves in a position where in a short period of time, they're not really fulfilled by it. They do something to make money, but it isn't something necessarily that creates meaning for them. And there is an invisible force, I call it, that shapes our life. It sounds kind of corny, but you know, when I say invisible force, what I really mean is the things that affect you the most are things you don't notice. You know, electricity, you know, gravity, love, hate, human emotion is not something you see, but it affects your life so much. And the force I'm talking about is the power of self-education. We're going to start out here and share a little bit of our background briefly for you, but we're excited to get into the nuts and bolts and saying, what is the opportunity for you to enter a business that is growing geometrically? And we started in the infancy of this business. And, you know, I started out 43 years ago, and you started
23 years ago.
23 years ago. So between us, we have 66 years of experience to share with you in this short time, but we really want to deliver that for you. But let me just give you a sense of the background. I started out in a really tough environment, and so did Dean. He'll share his story as well. There were no role models. We had no money for food. In fact, today I'm privileged to be able to feed 100 million people every year through my partnership in Feeding America. I said I'm going to feed 1 billion people over 10 years. We're 5 years into it. We've fed 500 million people. I mean, I didn't have money to food. We couldn't eat at times. And so to have that kind of turnaround, to go from completely stressed, I had 4 different fathers, my parents are always fighting, and early as just a young boy, I just said, I don't want this for my future family. I've got to find a way to do things that make the quality of our life different, where we can have the income, yes, but also the joy and the happiness. And so I became obsessed like a student. I started reading books. I took a speed reading class when I was just in junior high school. And I said, I'm going to read a book a day. And of course, I didn't do that, but I read 700 books in human development over about 7 years, psychology, physiology, anything that can improve life. And then I started going to seminars. I didn't know what a seminar was. And here's the story for 2 seconds. I'm in high school. I'm struggling. I work as a janitor, making $40 a week. And my mom, I should say, said that she talked to this man's wife and he needed somebody to help him out by do some moving. He was a man that had been unsuccessful. In fact, my father chimed in and said, he's a total loser, and now he's very successful. And I said, what does that mean? He goes, I don't know. He went to some seminar. And I said, what's a seminar? My dad said, I don't know. So I volunteered. No, I didn't volunteer. I got paid to go do this heavy-duty moving for the weekend to try and earn some money. And at the end of it, he said, you're a really hard worker. I want to hire you again. I said, well, I want some advice. I said, I want to know. I heard you're such a loser, my dad said. Only kids can say this.
At least you put a cushion on it.
Right? And I said, but now you're so successful. How come? And he said, your dad really said that? And then he finally said, well, it's kind of true. He goes, I was a bit of a loser. And he said, what turned me around was going to a seminar. I didn't know anything about self-education. I didn't know anything about what a seminar might be. And I said, what's a seminar? He goes, well, a man who's taken his whole life and he's become very successful, he started with nothing, shares with you the best of what he's learned. And his goal is to help you compress decades into days. Like help you learn in a few days what took him decades to learn and save you so much pain and help you become more successful. And I said, how does he do it? He goes, well, he has this 3.5-hour seminar and you should come to it. And he told me all about it. And I said, how much is it? And he said, $35. And I remember going, oh my God, $35 for 3 hours? I said, you know, I make $40 a week as a janitor. I said, can you get me in? And he said, yes.
For 30.
And I said, well, will you? And he said, no. And I said, why not? He goes, because you won't value it if you don't pay for it. I said, trust me, I'll value it. So the biggest decision in my life at that stage was, do I take a week's pay to go hear some guy talk for 3 hours? And thank God in the end, I thought to myself, I'm struggling so bad. If I don't get this information, I mean, how long will it take me to get it? So I went to this man's seminar. And here's what happened. It wasn't like there was some magic there. He just gave me insights I had never had before. Some of them I heard because I've read so many books. But the most important piece of advice and an insight he gave me, I got to ask him personally. And here's the question, because it relates to everything we're going to share with you tonight. I asked him, I said, I had 4 fathers. We had times when there's no food. We had no food in Thanksgiving. Somebody came and fed my family. That's why I feed people today. And I said, how could that be? My dads are hardworking, they're good people. And Jim Rohn said to me something I'll never forget, and it's what this entire knowledge business is about. He said, Tony, we're all equal as humans, as souls, but we're not equal in the marketplace. I said, what does that mean? He said, well, you look at somebody working at McDonald's, they're making whatever it was in those days. I don't remember, it was $4 an hour. Now it's $7.50, I think, or something of that nature. He said, Tony, he goes, anyone can do that. You can learn to do that literally in a few hours. Today, at McDonald's, they have pictures. You don't even have to be able to speak English. They can just push buttons. So there's not a lot of added value. He said, in the marketplace, your value is your ability to bring something special to people, something that meets their needs. In order for you to do that, you've got to learn how to add more value. You've got to become more valuable. You've got to work harder on yourself than anything else. For things to change for you, you got to change. For things to get better, you got to get better. And he said, if you see somebody who's a billionaire, instead of saying, aren't they lucky? He gave me an example in those days. It was this big hedge fund guy, be like Ray Dalio today or someone like that. And he said he made $4 billion last year. This person made $15,000. He goes, that sounds so unfair. But listen, most people put their money in the bank and they're getting 2%. He got 42% for his investors, which included nonprofit funds, things of that nature. He goes, he's worth $4 billion because he made $40 billion for everybody. Right? He said, you have to understand your fathers are good people, but they didn't figure out how to get away from generalized knowledge to specialized knowledge. That's what this is about. If you go to the university today, you can get a phenomenal education. Unfortunately, it costs a lot. In fact, if you're a millennial, you paid 8 times more. It's grown 8 times faster than incomes. And, we have $1.5 trillion worth of debt for young people today. It's insane. And here's the worst part. Dean knows this. 73% of the people who major in an area never work in the area they spend all this money for. 30, 40, 50, 100, $200,000 for. And of the 22% that do, that group of people, or 27% that do, that group of people say 52% say they don't enjoy what they have. And there are 111 universities right now that have over $1 billion endowment. They're like hedge funds with money attached. So there's nothing wrong with college. It's a great thing. But people come up and can't get a job because they don't have specialized knowledge. Knowledge you can act on. Knowledge that can change your life immediately. So I took that education. I became obsessed. I started studying everybody I could. I started loading myself with audio tapes back in those days. I had cassettes. That's all I am. There was no internet. I was going to the library. I was reading every book. And then I launched my first seminar. And I tell you this because this is where some of you may be tonight. I didn't know what the heck to do. I just had this knowledge. I wanted to share it. I wanted to help people. So it was expensive in those days. There wasn't, an ability to send free email. I used the old snail mail. I'm old, right? I had to go rent a giant hotel. I couldn't do it on Skype or, on some piece of that nature. So I had to spend the money, run the ads. And I tried to do a free seminar. And I rented a room for 500 people. And I spent $10,000. It should be like $30,000 today, which is all the money I had. And 7 people showed up. It's a true story. And they were spread out all around the room. And I was like, could you all come down to the front row here? And that's how I started. Now today, I did 102 cities last year in 15 countries. My average seminar is 10 to 15,000 people. And I have the privilege of, I've coached all 5 living presidents and presidents before that as well. I've worked with some of the greatest athletes in the world, from the Andre Agassi's to the Conor McGregors and Serena Williams. So all this starts someplace. And what we want to do tonight is show you where you can start and how you can grow it, as little or as much. Something you do part-time or something you do full-time, something to change the quality of your life by letting you take something you know or something someone else you respect knows. That's what Jim Rohn was for me. And learn how to bring that to people. And we built a system to do it. And we've done it. 1 year ago, we did this, and we kind of broke the internet then with about 200,000 plus people. Now we got 500,000. We have 24,000 people in our community all over the world in 150 countries in 4,300 different niches. We're here to serve you tonight. And all we're going to ask you to do is put down your phone, unless you're watching us on that, turn off your text, and focus with us, because we've got enough life experience to take you on a journey that could change your whole life. And we're excited to serve you.
Yeah. Awesome. Good to see you. I was mesmerized. I was just sitting here watching. Hey, it's so good to have you here with us tonight and joining us. I know there's a million things you could do, so we're gonna over deliver in a massive way, because at the end of the day, if you're watching, there's a million. You could be binging out on Netflix. You want another level of life. You want a next level of success. And what I bet, if you're here, you want to do something more meaningful. I mean, we're gonna spend the next 5 years doing something. You're gonna spend the next year's 5 years overcoming obstacles, getting past the naysayers, having partners let you down, the marketing didn't work, your spouse not believing you, people think you're nuts. That's going to happen anyway. But how cool would it be to be able to do that in an industry where you know it's making an impact, where there's meaning, and the byproduct could be some of the greatest success you've ever had in your life. So if you're here, I want to share my story a little bit and then get right to it. But I just want to share one thing really quick to make sure you're at the right place at the right time. Who this is for and who this isn't for. If you're looking for a magical money machine, get rich without doing anything. If you're looking for a business in a box, or if you're looking for someone else to do the work for you, this isn't the place. If you know anything about Tony and I, that's not what this is. But if you're a professional or somebody committed to transitioning to something more meaningful, if you want to have a side hustle that actually has purpose and success attached to it, or maybe you have a full-time business and you know it's time to scale your impact, scale your success, scale your business to the top and grow it, who better than us? And lastly, if you're someone committed to learning from two people who've already been there, right? Not through your own trial and error, but people who have already been there. If that's you, let us know in the comments. I know we got them scrolling over here. Say, I'm committed, or I'm in, or I'm doing this. Because listen, at the end of the day, a lot of people dabble. Everybody wants more. They want to make more money, go to another level, have more freedom, be able to post their new car on Instagram. People want that. But in a lot of times they dabble. This isn't about dabbling. We're pulling back the curtain tonight on 60 plus years experience to show you how to take a skill, a passion, a hobby, an expertise. In fact, how to take an experience or even a mess that you went through and how to turn that into a message that allows other people to go faster. Listen, in life, there's 3 ways I believe to get ahead. If you want to make more money, go to another level, create more success in your life, have more control, have abundance, there's only 3 ways. You go back to school and get more general knowledge. And as Napoleon Hill said in 1937, as much general knowledge as you get, it's never going to lead to wealth.
That's Google today, right?
Yeah,
you can get anything you want in general knowledge and traditional education, just Google it.
Yeah.
But if you get the specialized knowledge, you can have impact, you can be more value to people, and you can earn more, enjoy more, have the meaning, and develop a deeper level of impact in every way you think of.
Yeah, my team gave me a saying going around the internet. It says, by the time, it says, poor college kids of today, by the time the ink dries on your diploma, what you learned is already outdated. So that's one way, is go back, get more general knowledge. The second way is learning through your own trial and error. And this is what's creating this perfect storm and why we're here and why Tony and I took the last 2 years to create this process, this gold standard process for you to get in, because the second way, trial and error, doesn't work anymore because the world is growing so exponentially fast. By the time you learn the 2.0 version of something, the world's on 5.0. Yeah. So what is the world doing? If school system's letting them down with general knowledge, if trial and error isn't working, what the world is doing is turning towards professional doers, people who have already done it, who will share the self-education industry. People are saying, I don't want to learn from the professional teacher in the classroom. I want to learn from someone who's already done it. And what we've shown is that's you. You have a mess that can turn into a message. You have an experience, a skill, something you've done. Our friend Russell Brunson and Jenna Kutcher will be here later. Last year, Russell said, if you're one chapter ahead in today's world, people don't want to read the chapter. They just want you to share it with them, right? So that's where we're at today. So even if you think you don't have a skill, even if you think you're an introvert and this might not be for you, what I'm going to tell you is stick around, because when you see the people's lives that are changing, when you see we have it's a small portion of people's lives all around the world.
We're not going to go through everyone.
We're not going to go through everyone. Yeah, don't panic. And let me just tell you what we're going to share tonight, so you know. If you got your pen and paper, write this down. What is the knowledge industry? Why now and why you? That's the first bucket. Second bucket, how do I confidently identify what is the skill, the experience, or the mess you have that could be your message? And then the third bucket is simply going to be, how do you take that message, that skill, and turn it into next level success, next level impact? So at the end of your life, right, at the end of your life, like Tony said in the beginning, when you say, do you want to make impact or next level success and revenue? You don't have to decide. We get to do something meaningful and you're going to see why this is the perfect storm to make this happen. Before we get into that, I want to tell you why. Yeah, I want to tell you why the knowledge industry is so important to me. And maybe some of you could feel this way. It doesn't matter if you went to college or not. I didn't. But if I didn't find self-education, I'm pretty sure I'd be left behind. I went to school and I struggled, and I had envy of other people getting ahead. I remember my friends going off to college, and whether you went to college or not, you know, most people don't use their degree. But I remember thinking, how the hell am I going to do more? And I was lucky enough to find a couple older people in my town, and they gave me so much wisdom. It was so counterintuitive to what my parents taught me, right? So I started doing okay and working really hard, and I got a collision shop and an auto sales, and I was selling cars in my teens. I started making money, and I rolled that into apartments and houses, and I started going. But something really changed my life when I was 25 years old. I saw this guy, and how cool is it we get to be dear friends at this phase of our lives. I saw this guy, and everything he said just made sense. So I pulled out a credit card. I spent a couple $100 back then. I bought everything you had. I had never read a book cover to cover. I had never listened to an audio tape, and when I told my father, and if you're watching, Dad, you probably remember this, I told my father I paid for information, and he's like, get your money back, you just got screwed, right? And I got this information, and when I learned that knowledge course corrected my life, 1,000 pounds fell off my shoulders. You gotta remember, every day at this time, I was working in a collision shop. I was working on cars every day. Painting had fumes and, give you the headache, and nails dirty. It changed my life, this knowledge, so much that within 2 years, I decided I wanted to be in the knowledge industry. I said, how cool is it? Tony changed my life. I gave him money. I want in, right? But this was before, like Tony said, this is before the internet. This is before iTunes and YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. So the only thing I needed to do is figure out how to create a course. And then I did an infomercial because there wasn't a million other ways to get my message out. And it's so funny. Russell asked me, and I forgot I had this. I want to show you guys something. I was working in a collision shop and on cars every day. And at night, I created my first course. Look at that. A cassette. You got, some of you might not even, not a cassette, a VHS. You might not even know what this is. And I wrote all these books on how people could get in the car business. Talk about, people say, I don't know, a niche will work. I taught people how to flip cars and make money like I did. Now, here's a part you got to realize. You know what I was intimidated by? This guy was already doing it for 20 years. He impacted millions of lives. I never impacted one person's life. I didn't go to college. I used credit cards to fund this because it was outside the norm. I had never been on camera. I was scared to death. But I helped one person, and I remember when that first sale come in, and I helped 10, and I helped 50, and I failed in between. And that's why self-education is so important, especially at this phase of our life. Especially Tony. I'm the busiest guy I know unless I'm with him. The last thing he needs to do is something new. This is about showing you that we made it happen when it was like horse and buggy and smoke signals. The world has changed. The shift of regular education isn't working, trial and error isn't working. I want self-education combined with our access through social media and the internet. This is the perfect time for you to be in this industry. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight and show you that this isn't for other people. This is for you. In fact,
it's an itch to just point out to you. This is not like you could have got it where we were. It was really tough going. Like, infomercials are the worst way to try to do this. You have to spend a fortune to send out a message to 1 million people and hope that you can find them. Today, if you want to find a niche, you want to help moms who are single moms that like yoga and eat granola, you can find that person precisely and just pay to reach that person. That didn't exist in our time. And yet we found a way to succeed by adding so much value to people's lives, by always doing more for people than they ever expected. And that's what we're going to show you how to do. But we're going to show you the shortcuts of how to do that and also how to do the marketing. We built an actual system.
Yeah, here's the cool part. So last year, Tony said we went live. Over a couple 100,000 people showed up. I think we're going to have more this year. Oh my God, they're holding up numbers. This is off the chart. This is amazing. And this is the deal. The more people that are a part of this, the better it is for all of us. But last year, over 24,000 people not only watched us, but decided to get more information and work with us and use our KBB method. They're in 150 countries. And here's the cool part. They started calling themselves knowledge brokers. And I love that. And we ended up giving it a definition. A knowledge broker is someone who shares their knowledge or someone else's with those who want and need it, resulting in massive impact and next level